It's Eric. The camera's there sitting at the bottom of a hole that wild boar have dug. I've been using an electric fence for some time and it's worked quite well. Recently with my faba beans, they have been attracted more and things are just getting a bit out of control. Normally I wouldn't mind so much about the wild boars. They're quite a nuisance, but this year I've put a lot of effort into putting in drip irrigation and really trying to ramp up production here at my garden. I've struggled for years with irrigation because here's a flood irrigation system. Not only have I been struggling with the wild boar, but also the swings in temperature that come and go here in the Mediterranean climate, and we can experience extreme droughts. So that's why it was so important for me to have drip irrigation this year. I have finally installed it, but the bad thing about that is that the wild boar are very desperate for food. Whenever there's a moist area, they seem to be attracted to it because of the life in the soil. Earthworms, beetles, everything. Not only that, the tasty crops that you've planted. You can see the mess or the damage they've done here. They've tilled the soil. In this line I had planted potatoes. They've even done a lot of damage to my seedling. This is wild boar dung. I mean, there's only so much the electric fence can do, especially when one day it becomes unplugged. I mean, the ideal would be a strong physical barrier that they can't jump over. But for now, I don't have the resources for that. So I'm gonna have to make sure the electric fence is doing fine and try to do the best under the conditions I've got. I mean, gardening under these conditions can be quite stressful, frustrating, and expensive. What can I do? I'm not quite sure, but it's gonna be a journey to find out how to keep the wild boar out of here. There's so much abandoned land around here that they have plenty of habitat. In past years, they've gone under the fence here, but using these wire ties, I've prevented that from happening again. You see how they can lift up with their snouts? Even the most crude fences can do all right. After several versions, this has kept them out so far. But also, that's considering that there's nothing much to eat on this part of the land. It doesn't get so moist. No crops to eat there. On a side note, here in Spain, spring has been exceptionally dry. Usually this is a time where we receive quite a bit of rain events, storms that come through here. But so far, nothing serious. The last rain that we had was at the end of winter. All the grasses are setting seed early. Everything's drying out way early. This should be one of the greenest times of the year. But as you can see from our pasture, it's already starting to show signs of summer stress. What else is left to do? Hunting is definitely not an option here because we're too close to the city limits. I've bought a hunting camera and an ultrasonic animal repeller. I'm going to do a not so scientific experiment and do 1 week with the camera just by itself, see their movements to see if it has any effect on their movement.
At first, the animals that triggered the camera were quite unremarkable. My hens, a cat, a magpie, a bird that I'm not sure what it is. And then after that, I saw a hedgehog. I'm really excited about having a hedgehog. A hedgehog, which I knew were around here, but I didn't know were so active, came by and triggered the camera. Just, you can see there on the corner of the camera. And then several nights later, I caught him going up and down our little pathway there between the two properties here. If you didn't know, hedgehogs are always a good sign here in your garden. They are a good way to control common pests. Every gardener loves to have hedgehogs around. UK gardeners I know are building little houses for them, feeding stations where they can have access to water and food. I hate to use that word pests. I think a lot of us in the permaculture or regenerative areas feel that there's no such thing as a real pest. I mean, of course, a disease or an insect, an overpopulation of an insect can really bother you. It can cause a lot of damage and problems, but it usually is a signal that you don't have a strong biodiversity in your area yet, and it takes a while sometimes for these to compensate. Talking of pests, well, the wild boar for me are sort of like a pest, and it's a signal that here there's something missing. Here in Spain, there's no apex predators. Where are the apex predators? Well, apex predators are gone. They used to be the wolf, long gone here, especially here in this area. There's some in the Pyrenees and I think in northern Spain, especially here in the more southern areas. They're long gone and it's definitely not a place that supports wolves yet. You could imagine farmers in this area hunting wild boar as a meat source. I mean, like in all societies before our industrial era of food production, meat was a luxury and it's something you would come across occasionally, maybe on a weekly basis, a monthly basis. There's still a strong tradition of hunting here in Spain wild boar, but here it's not an option to hunt wild boar because we're in a mixed urban area where it's sort of really a strange situation we have going on here in Penínscola, where you have like these borders of very natural parks. Everything is quite wild. And then also you have a lot of abandoned farmland, abandoned land that is in transition towards sort of Mediterranean scrub land. For gardeners like me, they're quite a nuisance when they come and uproot all of your crops and destroy everything. While they are a huge nuisance for me, I also appreciate that they do exist, and we should be more pragmatic about controlling their population, either through capturing them and relocating them to other more wilder areas, or simply it might just be my own responsibility to build up stronger walls. It's sort of a shame that we have to build up these really defensive walls in an area that could be more natural. When I build up such a strong wall, I'm also limiting the movement of other wild animals through my property. It's a bit frustrating sometimes when in our community, people are actively feeding the wild boar. I'm a bit surprised about the response in the community forums, how some people actually support this idea of feeding wild animals. Under no circumstances is it okay to feed wild animals, especially wild boar that can do so much damage. I think in rewilding, wild boar are sort of a double-edged sword. I've spoken to many Spaniards here and they are aware of the problem with wild boar, but not like from the same perspective as a farmer or a gardener like me, but from the perspective of traffic safety, because everyone has an anecdote, either a personal anecdote or through someone else, of hitting a wild boar. It's just quite common. Sort of like deer in the US. Everybody knows someone who has hit a deer in the United States. Well, at least where I'm from, in the West Coast, it's very, very common. Just take a look at this video and how casually these guys are meandering about on the road. They're just taking a stroll, looking for last night's leftovers next to the dumpster. I think their daily routine is that they checked out my neighbor's orchard, see if there's any fallen fruit on the ground. Their last spot to check out is my garden, where they're listening, observing. They're being very studious wild boar. They're listening to see if the electric fence is on. And when that electric fence has had a technical problem, like it happened to me the other day, it came unplugged. I think somebody stepped on the wire, it unplugged. They know it. They can hear that little tick. You can hear it in the video. They're ready to get their snouts on some regenerative soil where there's tons of earthworms, beetles, larvae, while my neighbor's soils, they don't dig up my neighbor's soil quite as often as when they get into here. But I believe that it's because over on the other land, he has a tradition of using pesticides, insecticides, everything, and tilling the land all the time. He wants to see it very clean, you know? And they haven't come back yet, but I have proof that they have been here and the electric fence is doing well. At first I had a problem getting the trail camera to record properly, and it was limited to 3 seconds. But after a bit of troubleshooting, I finally solved the problem. If you would like to keep updated with my battle with the wild boar and the ultrasonic animal repeller experiment, please like and subscribe. What you can expect from this channel is stories from the perspective of the dry Mediterranean and our continuous battle with drought. Also, you can expect regenerative stories from all around Spain. I just finished filming a community composting collective near Valencia and their epic efforts to keep food waste out of landfill. That should be coming out of post pretty soon. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching and hope to see you back here again.